People don't know this. Something you see consistently has some degree of trust that it ingrains in your system. The Apple logo represents that $1 trillion company. So the value of that logo is what the business is worth. See, you can put up all the beautiful adverts. People still won't budge when the experience is a different thing.
Yeah.
So you can spend money, but when he entered, that's not the same thing he had. If Harry is a Samsung user, Apple will not try and get hold of you because they feel that, listen, you are very loyal to Samsung.
Which I am.
So they will target what they can do to make your experiences better, as opposed to expanding their energy trying to woo you to come to. If you take 100 people that are your clients, you will have that minute percentage, maybe 2% that actually they will criticize everything.
Yeah, they'll punch holes.
Yes. What you do.
What are some of the mistakes that people do when they try to communicate, brand, show what they represent?
By focusing on cost, which is everybody should focus on, they hurt their brand by being inconsistent on it.
Okay.
It's not a good thing.
Okay.
I'm coming to a place where I understand that even if the person is a solo runner who has approached you and he's a very good creative person, by him running with you for a certain amount of time, there's some synergy.
Okay.
He knows exactly what you want. He understands what you're saying, and therefore there is smoothing out the communication and brings out the consistency. I've noticed that because people want to cock, and of course it's not only just people, but I think sometimes somebody says, oh, this guy is offering me a cheaper price or whatever it is. They tend to now go to this one, and it might dilute your brand. The big brands don't do that. They once they source who their vendor is going to be, they empower you, and then what you do is that they give you a contract. The contract is to say that we want to see certain consistency, and then they only terminate these contracts based on the fact that maybe we're not delivering the results. But you need that space to kind of harmonize the consistency in your brand. It's very important. I think we're in a society where people really don't appreciate that communication is a make or break. People don't see that. They think, na logo aye kitu na ajiskasi. But you've forgotten that I read a book by a guy who lectures in San Francisco somewhere, and they were dissecting the swoosh, Nike swoosh.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't pay the lady, I think it was $20 if I remember. Phil Knight said in the book, I have the book there. But what the guy said was, logos is not about the color or the character you see, but what it represents. Let me give you an example. MTN's yellow, or their logo, represents the value of the business. Nike swoosh represents that value. The Apple logo represents that $1 trillion company. So the value of that logo is what the business is worth.
Okay.
So what you were saying is that until people understand that the branding is an integral part of your value, you are not going to understand that way and put a bit of emphasis on it. Listen, Harry, just look at all the brands that do well. I mean, I won't mention too many, but for example, let me give you an example. Hisense came to the market specific with what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
With their brands. Samsung the same, everybody. Yes, they stuck to it. How they are. And these days, they are even extending it to spaces.
Yeah.
Spaces, the user experiences, yes. So that right from the onset, people don't know this. Something you see consistently has some degree of trust that it ingrains in your system. So I have certain brands I like, and I've been getting used to it, and if it changes, I immediately feel it, and and that's a thing. That's a thing. So take time if you're a young business, and try and really spend time on your brand and on your outlook, because when that culture is established in a business, and the template is set, everybody would sort of align to it and then they move. Yes, and it helps. So people can go and come. Once they come, they know that this is a culture we stay with. So while we're growing, that's what culture we're staying with, and it kind of works. Yeah.
Now, you know, a lot of businesses are moving online now.
Yes.
Maybe not necessarily doing business online, but want to be visible online.
Yes.
And all this comes with the brand that they present to the customer.
Yes.
What should we consider trying to go online? Should I just do a website? It's IG now, Facebook. What should SMEs consider?
Very good question. I've been doing a research on that one for the last 3 years probably. And all the materials that I studied and all the materials that I looked into are saying that if anybody is going online as an SME or whichever part you want to play there, consider it as a community first of all, community of your clients. They are out there doing the same thing they would do one-on-one, but they've sent it to virtual. Let me give a typical example. You are not going to promise people something online that when they go to your physical shop, you're not going to get. Then it comes that trust is becoming an issue there. Secondly, there might be feedbacks that, let's be honest, if you take 100 people that are your clients, you will have that minute percentage, maybe 2% that actually they do criticize everything.
They'll point holes.
Yes. What you do is to try and kind of the communication should be such a way that you are literally being on the other side rather than being on your side. You cannot fulfill all their needs, but what you are doing is that you are creating a certain platform where people would see your realness. Because if I say honesty, that might be misinterpreted, but the idea is that you are real. That although we are in a digital space, we are still human beings talking. Although there's AI, we are still human. And therefore, so people advise, giving a shout out to people on their birthdays, doing a little poster that our customer is having his birthday. By the way, MTN gives me cake sometimes when on my birthday.
You're a big man.
You know?
And
now, you know what they've done? They've given us, what they call them, managers. They've given us personal managers or personal assistants that you can talk to them directly.
Whoa.
It makes sense. So it's a big amorphous business, but they've noticed that me talking to my manager kind of makes me feel I'm important, and therefore I'm staying with them. It makes sense, doesn't it?
I can relate. So recently, I have 2 offices here. Yeah. We work with one other network, and then we had an issue with our broadband.
Yes.
Yeah, I got someone saying here, managing your account, reach out to me whenever you. I can relate.
Yeah, because it's all coming from the concept of user experience.
Okay.
Now they're looking at customers through the eyes of experience rather than I bought and I went.
Yeah.
So how you came in, how your concerns were met,
how they were addressed and all that.
And remember, I think one of the misconceptions, I won't say it's a mistake, the misconception people have is that your brand is the color. It's not. Your brand is really what you represent.
Now you make your customers feel the experience.
The colors are the pictorial representation of what you believe in. So if you can do, and it's happened to a few financial, especially the banks, you can put up all the beautiful adverts. People still won't budge when the experience is a different thing.
Yeah.
So you can spend money, but when he entered, that's not the same thing he had. It's like maybe I buy a bottle of some drink and how I was advertising. When I won't come back. So it's people need to keep an eye on it. So it would help a smaller business to focus on relating to its customers because they are not too big, and really make them a family. Make them a family. Even if you cannot give him what he wants, the empathy and the fun and the plan is that, listen, what you are requesting for financially or by our models, it might not work for it. However, we can come and give you, say, technical knowledge, which might not cost us, but it would help you now be able to figure things out. Might be a better plan for the person.
Right.
You understand? And the person says, oh yes, I was looking for the money I didn't get. But what they did was they came all the way and were able to sit with me and see. They come fault you. You know that, listen, we couldn't do it because our protocols will not allow us. However,
this what
this we
we
can
offer.
do for you.
And then you
Exactly.
can see how that.
Exactly.
You know, when you mention how you make your customer, how the business will make the customer feel.
Yeah.
There was a point where one of these yogurt producing brands
Yes.
had an issue with their product. So I
Yes.
remember I bought the bunch and
Yeah.
it didn't taste good. There were a lot of people passing comments on social media, bashing them. Another friend also bought and wanted to pass a comment, and I said no, just send them a direct message.
Yes.
They were invited to the factory,
The factory,
took them to
amazing.
tell them
Yeah,
what
yeah,
went
yeah,
wrong
yeah,
and how,
yes,
and they came back with a whole bunch
Yes.
of gifts to say that yes,
They've won now. So there's another concept of advertising people don't know, where we call them charismatic branding. Charismatic branding says that now all the big brands don't focus on. If Harry is as a Samsung user, Apple will not try and get hold of you because they feel that, listen, you are very loyal to
to
Samsung.
Samsung, which I am.
So they will target what they can do to make your experiences better, as opposed to expanding their energy trying to woo you to come to.
Okay.
And therefore, by your experiences, guess what? You're going to buy for somebody as a gift. You're going to buy for your child. You're going to buy for.
Other people, even though I wouldn't.
So they've changed the model now and not worrying too much about what the competitors are doing,
Okay.
but staying with. That's why they call it charismatic. They're staying with their family and making sure that the family is always happy. That's what they do now. Yeah.
So one thing I see around SMEs is you spoke about the brown book.
Yeah.
So today they are printing their name and the font is Arial narrow. Tomorrow they are printing and it's Times New Roman. Tomorrow they are printing it's Calibra or whatever. How do SMEs overcome these? Some people don't get it that the font size, the font type, all this thing is part of the image and the brand that they are building.
Fortunately in Ghana, over my 20 years of practicing, I've noticed that the Gen Zs or the new ones coming are very specific what they want. That's very enlightening. You can't just tell them, say, Okala, they won't mind you. They will tell you, Charlie, I'm going. So, and it's probably because of education. They are coming out of school, and of course with social media, they are very clear. The images they've found, the pictures they've seen, and how they want a certain thing to go. So, for us in the industry, if you're an industry person, you can't even afford to have mishaps. When I was working for one big organization, I took time. They never gave me any material of their logos or anything. But I took time, went online, went to certain pages of theirs, certain brand manuals of theirs, and picked everything. In fact, at the end of me working, I had more materials by myself than the organization.
On them.
Because I knew on the onset that if the work is going, Harry, this is the thing. If you see a fake Samsung, there will be something about it that is off.
Yeah.
So my plan was that I might not be the best of designers, but I want to make sure that the elements that are theirs are excellently represented, so that even if you don't like the work, once your logo is placed properly and it's not badged, they say, okay, well, but the thing is in place.
Yeah.
So it would offset for maybe so I was very, very sure that any organization that I'm working for, there were cases where I had to redraw people's logos. They didn't pay me 1 cedi, but I knew that when I draw that logo, the sharpness, the crispness, and the things will show, and therefore would mean something to me. So for SMEs, for example, I think work with people who understand. If they don't understand, Harry, teach them that me, Harry, this is what I represent. And if you want to work for me, but let's stay with what works for me.
Okay.
So that me and you are on the same page. The second thing I would encourage people to do, especially when the concept is new, when the concept is different, let's do test runs with models, with smaller units, and test run it so that we can iron out all the hair, so that you don't spend too much money, but then you can see what the replications might be, and then probably solve it before you go high, you go volume. Right. If not, that you're going to have. I've had cases where somebody said, okay, print 10,000 things for me, and I said, I agree, but because it's new, let's do 1,000
and see how it looks.
Test run it, see, and then we can go. Because 1,000 mistakes is a bit easier than to
Than
run 10,000.
10,000.
It's too expensive.